Welcome to Unaccountable, the accounting game show where no one can account for how we track the points. I am your moderately competent host, Tyler Otto, and I'm joined by the ever so slightly more competent Jeremy Van Grohl. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir. Let me just tell you how excited I am to be here with you. And I don't know, our listeners may not hear that, but we are like sharing video. Does your shirt say LIFO at the party? Did I get that right?
Yes, company retreat shirts.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, super excited to be here, man. Like, look at us, right?
Yeah, no, this was a brainchild that started several months ago, but finally coming to fruition. So I'm glad our brains could procreate. I don't know.
Ooh, that's not like probably a dirty picture of procreating brains.
So,
yeah,
welcome to the show. And Jeremy, this is going to essentially take the shape of a game show. And I thought nothing could be better for a first game than a challenge of introductions. As the users do not know us, and as you said, we should probably introduce ourselves to them. This first challenge is we have exchanged each other's resumes. And the challenge is who can do the better introduction of the other. Jeremy, I'm going to flip a coin here. Heads or tails?
Heads.
You win. Do you want to go first or defer?
Oh, we're not going to go back and forth. Just all together one. All right, I'll go first, I think.
Hit it.
I feel like this is like the 8 Mile thing where you're at the final and you want to go first, so you'll have nothing to say, right?
Yes, exactly. I've
Right.
got no comeback. Let's hear it.
Okay. All right, let's hear it. So let me present you Tyler Dean Otto, hailing from the wonderful state of Utah, and only has one wife that I know of, and a fantastic human. So looking at his resume here, which I had not seen before, like a day or two ago, which we put through this, is fluent in conversational Spanish. Tyler, if you'd be so kind, can you give me your best Spanish sentence?
No quiero hacerlo a este momento.
No idea what that means, but sounds conversationally fluent. That's fantastic. Looking through your history here, like some impressive things, man. Financial analyst started out with, then director of finance at the Christian Center of Park City. I hope we can say names. I feel like you're almost more knowledgeable in nonprofits than a nonprofit expert based on all of these things here.
I feel like I'm probably just a better at faking it than you. That's probably it. You probably still hold more knowledge, but go ahead and proceed.
All right, I'm hoping you're faking it just at nonprofit knowledge, but we'll leave that open-ended. But then, yeah, like some impressive stuff, like a senior analyst at Vail Resorts. If you haven't heard of that, that's a pretty swanky organization, right?
I mean, it was once the name in the industry. It was cool to tell people about. Now it has a little bit of the Death Star perception taking over ski resorts, but it was fun.
Oh, so they've like acquired a whole bunch of them and made them.
They're the Borg of ski resorts. Assimilate or perish.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know that. All right, cool. Then the last one on here, Senior Assistant Director of Finance. Man, that's awesome. Another place in Montage International. Love it. Education, MBA from the University of Phoenix. Was that in person?
It was, yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. And a bachelor's in international studies. Where were you going with that one? Can I ask that?
I liked languages, and I wanted my parents to pay for a semester abroad, so I didn't tell them that was a requirement until senior year when I needed money to go to Argentina.
Ooh, Argentina, good call. That's for another show. I got to hear more about that. I haven't heard that story.
We'll defer.
And then just skills. I feel like we should both read the top of it because I think yours is better than mine. Creative and business savvy financial professional with 10 plus years of progressive experience across a broad range of finance, accounting, and business development positions. I'm not going to go through the rest, but then areas of expertise include probably 3 things with acronyms that I don't even know what they are. So I mean, like amazing things. Okay, maybe I know them. SQL, BI tool, I don't know what Alteryx is though. Like you're a smart dude, man.
I mean, no, I just make stuff up and then people assume I know things.
Ooh, Alteryx.
Yeah. Alteryx is just a data ETL platform. Don't sweat it.
I would probably, if I was a competent manager, would maybe hire you based on this resume.
All right. I'm happy to hear that's the direction you take this. I thought you would fire me from day one.
No. Anyone with that middle name, you're my best friend, buddy.
Tyler Dean. I was going to say, I felt like I was in trouble the moment you dropped it. So thank you for going the right direction after that.
I didn't even pull out my mom voice yet.
Well played, sir. Well played. Well,
Yeah.
allow me, if I will. I took this a slightly different direction.
All right.
To monologue it, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yes. Looking over Jeremy. Basically, I wanted to do it as if it was your walk up at a sporting event. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you will, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to Jeremy Van Groel, the man who's not just crunching the numbers, but munching on challenges. Jeremy is the president and owner of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. He's been a financial analyst, a senior credit analyst, and even a manager of procurement and data analytics. He's the type of guy that could probably tell you the square root of pi off the top of his head. He has over 20 years of experience in bookkeeping, accounting, financial analysis, and cash flow management, and his firm just crested the ever-elusive seven-figure firm mark. His future is brighter than what I might say is his exquisitely waxed dome. Jeremy, not just about the numbers though, he's also a master of strategic planning and change management. Heck, he can manage change better than a vending machine. With Master of Accounting and Financial Management, with distinction no less, from Keller Graduate School of Management and DeVry University, and a Bachelor of Science from Agricultural Business Management from University of Wisconsin, Jeremy has more degrees than a thermometer. So, if you're looking for someone who can balance books, your budget, and your business strategy, look no further than Jeremy Van Groel. He's not just a finance professional, he's a finance wow, I just ruined the ending. He's a profunctional who brings a dash of wit and a splash of wisdom to the finance world.
Good, man. The Are You Ready to Rumble guy has got some competition.
You know, I got to have a fallback career after this when we get canceled after 2 episodes.
Oh, I love it.
Jeremy, points have got to be awarded here. Okay. And for this one, I think we're going to have to go to the judges.
After suffering through both of your submissions, we can proudly say Tyler is our winner.
All right. Yeah, congratulations, sir. It's got to be because your voice and face are so perfect for radio and podcasts.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you're not the first one who told me this is a face only my mother could love.
I love it.
I'm not even sure she does. Well, Jeremy, we don't want to leave you hanging, man. 1 point for me doesn't mean a lot because next round, fast figures. Now, for those of you who do not know, because A, you haven't listened to a single podcast of ours yet, spoiler alert, no one has. Fast figures. Jeremy is going to have just around a minute to answer 10 questions, and we're going to see his acumen in both things accounting and just life in general. Jeremy, how are you feeling about your first time through the gauntlet that is fast figures?
I mean, I've never been that quick of a person, so I'm a little bit nervous for this. But I'm going to give it the old college try.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's put the time on the clock.
Okay.
Jeremy, are you ready?
I'm ready, Tyler.
All right.
Okay.
And go. How many digits are there in your average Discover credit card?
16.
What is the IRS current business mileage rate?
64.5 cents, I think.
We'll find out at the end. How many different shapes are there in a game of Tetris?
8? I don't know.
What is the maximum number of years the IRS recommends keeping documents for a properly filed tax return?
7 years.
How many columns are there in the original version of the game Connect 4?
8?
What is the maximum amount of money an employer can receive per employee on the employee retention credit?
It's like 26,000?
How many MVPs has Aaron Rodgers won?
4. 3 or 4. 4. I'm gonna 4.
You sure? You're from Wisconsin. You better know this.
Oh, frick. 4. I'm gonna stick with my first. Got probably 3.
With asset purchases, what is the lower limit of the de minimis safe harbor election where you do need not capitalize the item?
No. $4,000. No idea.
How many of the 7 dwarves have the letter Y in their name?
If I say 8, I'm going to get fired. 4.
In the U.S. tax code, which section pertains to the 401k plans?
401k? I'm good.
All right, Jeremy. How are you feeling after it?
Don't all the 7 dwarves have it in there except for Doc? We'll get to it. I feel like
I don't know. Let's run back through it and let's see how you performed.
Okay.
All right, Jeremy, how many digits are in Discover card? 16. You were correct.
Okay, I was gonna say, are they like all the other cards?
They're like all the other, except I think Amex usually varies, right?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure.
Do you have any of your credit card numbers memorized?
I did, but my my Quicksilver one actually just recently expired and got a new number, and it's like I'm lost.
Yeah, that's one I've never been able to master is memorizing that. A lot of other random numbers, but yeah.
What is the current IRS business mileage rate? You said 64 and a half. The answer? 65 and a half.
Oh.
You are so close. I'm
Yeah.
inclined to give you the point.
Ugh.
That was brilliant. That was masterful. Up a full 3 cents from last year. And as you recall, last year they did that goofiness, right?
Oh yeah, they changed it mid-year, right?
Yeah. Like I don't know if that's happened
Yeah.
at any time in recent history, at least not while I've been in accounting.
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, I think it was with hyperinflation that we were seeing that they felt it was necessary. But yeah, I remember when that got blasted too. I was like, has that ever even happened? Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we had how many shapes are in a game, the game Tetris? You said 8. Correct answer? 7.
Oh man. I was a Sega guy growing up, not a Nintendo guy. I thought when you said next thing with the columns, it was going to ask me how many columns are in the columns game. I was like, oh, I might not know that either. All right. I'm okay being wrong on that one, but I was close.
I don't know if I would have gotten that one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would have. You could have told me 5. You could have told me 10. I would have believed you.
Yeah.
What is the maximum number of years the IRS recommends keeping documents for a properly filed tax return? You sounded confident at 7, Jeremy.
Well, is it 3?
No, you're right. It's 7, and we can
Okay.
put the link to it. But you have to, Jeremy, I have to just call it out. In the IRS's recommendations, it's 3 years for everything unless one of these scenarios applies to you, like you had a certain type of loss for worthless stock or anything else. So 7 is the longest time period, except provision numbers 5 and 6 are keep records indefinitely if you do not file a return, or keep records indefinitely if you file a fraudulent one. So all these clients I had that like, oh, if after 7 years I can throw out the documents and if I get audited, I'm fine. If the IRS suspects that you did something fraudulent, there is no limit on you having to provide backup.
Oh yeah, that's convenient. Much par for the course for the IRS. But yeah, I believe I was confident 7 because I knew that number and I'm lazy and I don't want to know all the other things. So every time I get answered that question, save everything for 7 years. Like, don't throw anything away. I don't care what it is. Don't make it complicated. Keep it for 7 years.
Perfect. How many columns are there in the original version of the game Connect 4? What did you answer?
I think I said 8.
You said 8?
Yeah.
The answer, if you haven't picked up on it, is 7.
Wait,
7 columns in the original game of Connect 4. I am there with you. I thought, hey, I went and looked up multiple pictures to confirm this is accurate.
Is that the current one has 8 as well? Like the modern? Or I'm sorry, 7 as well?
We might have to go check this out. You know what? We'll be together at BKX next week. We might just have to like Amazon in a game of Connect 4 and play and verify.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think Uncle Ben would be upset if you and I were sitting at the table mid someone else's talk playing Connect 4.
I'm gonna do it mid your talk. I'm not gonna worry about somebody else's stuff.
I get off the stage.
Yeah. I love it.
Jeremy, next question. What is the maximum amount of money an employer can receive per employee on the employee retention credit? You said 26 grand. The correct answer for the year 2021 was 21K. Plus for 2020, it was 5K. You are correct at 26 combined.
Yes.
Had to do a little bait and switch there on you.
Oh, good. All right. I'm pretty so far happy with my performance here, Tyler. I'm not gonna lie.
Have your clients taken you up or gotten help yet on the ERC?
I have done, we've probably done almost 10 of them and pretty successfully, except, the IRS sends them back to you whenever the hell they want. Right. So yeah.
4 to 5 months. Are you guys doing those in-house or are you shopping them out to a specialist?
That would be this guy doing them.
Wow. The face of the firm is also the brains?
All the way to the top, man. I just never taught, and it's not that hard. I just never taught anyone else. And like, it's one of those things where I want to make sure like we really are pretty good that we did it right. Because obviously like a lot of things weighing on that if the IRS would get involved or anything.
That's fair. We ended up shopping all of ours out just to specialists and
yeah,
it's been good because again, we don't have a good of a brain at the top of our firm. So one day when you buy us out, we'll start doing that.
Yeah. What I do love though is that every Tom, Dick, and Harry now is sending letters to the clients like every other day saying you could get $3 million because I found some ridiculous figure out there. I'm like, no, you can't. Yeah, that's been a lot of like, be careful out there. Don't engage with these people.
Well, and there's so many of them that are shopping out their services as such like, hey, yes, we can guarantee you the maximum per employee. Even if that employee worked 2 weeks, and all they did was sweep floors, like, no, that's not how it applies. But those snake oil salesmen are essentially just saying, hey, we'll prepare the forms, but client, you're going to assume all the liability when it's a blatant lie and send it into the IRS.
Yeah. And do you know anyone you shopped it around to? Are they requiring payment from the client right away? Like we give you the new 941s.
So yeah, the ones that we ended up settling with, which I really like them, but the way they ended up doing it is they charge, I think it's $1,000 retainer just to make sure you're serious, which totally fine.
Yeah.
And then when all the documents done, they walk you through everything. And it's not just the forms, but it's all the backup. They're pulling information from Department of Labor Statistics. They have their lawyers do their standard thing where they have plug and play templates, but like, here's all your backup should you ever get audited. And then, plus a guarantee of X hours. The client has to pay their portion, which depending on the client and when they sign their agreement could be anywhere from 5 to 10%. And they would pay that up front to get all their forms and send it to the IRS, or they could pay a later fee once they receive the refund, but then it would be higher than that 10% because they were floating the funds for, based on the IRS, could be 3 months, could be 9 months.
Could be more than that. See, that makes sense. And we've only done it for clients. And I tell them like, we'll do it. If you would disengage with us, you owe it to us right away. But as long as you stay with us, we'll wait till you get it. And then we'll get our fee at that point. So
clever.
Yeah.
Next question, which I'm surprised you flip-flop so much. How many MVPs has Aaron Rodgers won?
He's not a Packer anymore, for the record. So, I mean,
does that hurt at all? Does that like, if he wins another one, is it like your ex, doing better after you?
No, not at all. I used to like live and die because like I live in Wisconsin and in a small town, and like front page of the paper half the time will be Packers because we don't got a lot going on here. Right? So I used to live and die by them. I've gotten over that many, many years. So like, I'm kind of like, whatever, move on. Also, my brother is a big Jets fan, so he's kind of excited, but it didn't really work out that well the last time that this history happened. So we'll see. Was I right?
4 is the correct answer. I was rather impressed at how well you pulled that one out. Jeremy, you're all but one right now. If I'm giving you credit on 64.5 cents versus 65. I feel like the margin for error is good there.
Generous.
With an asset purchase, what is the de minimis safe harbor? Basically, the question is, what is the dollar amount where if it's under that amount, you do not have to capitalize it based on the IRS rules? You very unenthusiastically answered 4,000. Do you now that you've had a second to think about it, do you want to throw another answer just for gits and shiggles?
Even the second time you said that, I feel like I've understood 4 of the words that came out. So no, I honestly, I do not know this one at all. I'll be completely honest.
So it is $2,500. So if you have an asset you buy, a single invoice item is the way the IRS says it. But if you have an item you buy that's lasts multiple years, you're supposed to make it an asset and depreciate it over time, over its useful life. And then there's all the rules around how long it should be depreciated, whether it's equipment, vehicles, computers, machinery, blah, blah, blah. But they did increase the limit of the de minimis safe harbor from $500. I should know this. It was back in 2016, I think. Could be earlier. No one quote me on that, but they increased it to $2,500. So if a single invoice item is under $2,500, according to that, you do not have to capitalize it.
Why do you feel like you should remember that? I don't. Like you could deal with some more fixed assets than I probably do. Maybe.
We deal with a lot of fixed assets in the hotel world, right? Like. Yeah. It becomes a question of like the client bought how many mattresses? Well, they bought $100,000 worth, and whether each one was under $1,000, but collectively they were over, and they're going to last several years. Like, there's a lot of gray area on what we're required to capitalize and not.
Yeah, hotels are hard.
They are. That's why I love them. There's a nice little moat around my industry that no one wants to cross.
Right. I think I have a similar moat, but I don't want any part of your moat either.
There's a reason I send clients your way. I don't want to cross your moat.
Yes, me neither. That moat has many a crocodile in it.
All right. So next up, how many of the 7 dwarves have a Y in their name? You answered all but Doc. So if we're doing math.
I answered 4, and then
Oh.
afterwards I said, wait, they all do except for Doc, right? Should be 6.
I mean, you split the difference. You're wrong either way. It's 5. Bashful and Doc.
Bashful. Yep. Okay.
But Sleepy, Dopey, Grumpy, Happy, and Sneezy.
Sneezy. Yes.
Well,
I've never read all those off the top of my head.
And last question, in the U.S. tax code, which section pertains to 401k plans? You answered section 401, which is correct. I was hoping to trip you up on the last question here.
No, I think like you got to go. Yeah, I feel like in those multiple choice answers where they give you that you always think it's wrong. But when it comes to IRS code, if everybody calls it that, you need to call it that. Again, nonprofit world, we had a lot of 403Bs. Like, yep, 403B, that's where you find it. Weird. It works. Yeah.
Jeremy, successfully on 10 questions, 7 out of 10. That's a C, man.
I expected to do way worse than that. I'm not going to lie. So I'll take that all day of the week.
I'm going to grant myself the other 3 points you missed, though. But Jeremy just dumped out to a 7-4 lead. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah. No, thank you. Those are great questions. Nice work.
All right. Well, it's time for halftime. It is now time for a snack, an app snack at that, where we're going to take a hot moment and explore one of the apps in our space that everyone knows and loves. Would you like to introduce today's app?
I will probably very poorly introduce today's app. Today, we're looking at RightTool, right? Which is relatively new to the scene, right? 9 months, a year ago, I think. Really, like it came out to the masses. There might have been some betas or other stuff before that for smart people like you.
No, I wasn't part of it, but we'll have to ask Mark when the brainchild started.
Yeah. But what this is more or less, it is an extension add-on to QBO with the attempt to solve a whole bunch of the QBO frustrations in navigating the tool and doing all the wonderful work that accountants do in it, as well as facilitate some other cool stuff. So I know, Tyler, that you have this with your firm right now. I think we played in the sandbox for a little bit, but then there must have been cat poop in there or something and jumped out. But yeah, what do you think first? And I got a couple notes too.
Well, I'll be honest, RightTool for me is a lot like Keeper, almost, where I demoed the tool once and thought, no, not worth my time. It's not there. It's just, It's not worth any money. It's not worth the time. And then lo and behold, months later, you demo it again, and they've added on so much friggin' functionality that you're just like, abso-friggin-lutely, I'm going to do this. For us, the big kicker was their ability to copy and paste journal entries. So you could like have a template in Excel that builds it into a journal entry format. You can just copy paste over. Like, that solves so many of the problems. And then you just start digging around in their settings, which, by the way, any programmer out there looking to do something that works with like another accounting software, go look at RightTool, because they make every single bit of functionality so customizable. There are like 9 million on-off switches. It's almost like the light grid at a fun house. Like, it's just, you can turn everything on and off. And so I love that feature. But I mean, in the reconciliation screen, I can delete transactions or void them without having to go click through all the options. Or in the bank feed, that annoying thing where you're like everything's marked as a transfer and you can't categorize it. It can instantly fix all of those. Or I don't know, like I probably should prep more with my top 10 list, but I'm always excited about apps like this where I can see that they're making continuous improvements and they're listening to the people that are using it to just, oh, that's a good idea. We're going to build it. We're going to implement it. I don't know. What's your thoughts after having played with it?
Yeah, and I probably need to circle back to this one too and give it a second shot. And I tried to look at some of the things they went out. Well, first of all, like having somebody, which I think we all respect Hector Garcia, that he knows his stuff, right, and has lived QuickBooks forever, right? But first of all, the fact that Intuit doesn't already have a native spreadsheet function of some sort that's not garbage like their import process is ridiculous, right? Like, let's buy TurboTax and Mint and put all this stuff together instead of like focusing on an easy functionality that'll make accountants happy, right? So I think that is my first issue there. But no, I like some of the things that were happening. I think there's the ability that regardless of where you are and what client there is, you can set up a report that you like. And even if it's not a saved report, you could run that. So like, I always want to see at least 6 months of of the P&L and the balance sheet so I can see the trends and make sure that like there's not stagnant things there. And if my team or somebody hasn't set it up where I can do that easily, I need to like run the statement and pull it by months and pick this time period. So I think that would be a big time saver for me. I also like the little things that I saw, like if you void a transaction where it'll take the native amount and put it in the memo field. All right. So like you don't have to type it in there. You don't have to go to the admin function to find it because God knows you have to hit back 18 times for it to work when you go in there. So I liked that. And I think it's something that we need to look at some more. But I think, I think the best way I could describe it is like all the things that are a huge pain in the butt, they really have that on a list and trying to address them. So super kudos to that development team for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, going back to like, why does QuickBooks not have a good Excel function? I know people listening and be like, no, they release spreadsheet sync. And I'm going to get on my soapbox here and say like, they bought DataDeer a year ago, basically just repackaged it as spreadsheet sync, but like broke half the functionality. Because like in spreadsheet sync, you could delete transactions in mass. So let's say you did an upload and there was a bunch of transactions that went wrong. You couldn't just go mass delete those. You had to one by one go click them through. Spreadsheet sync, you could pull them all, delete, modify, void. They removed so much stuff because they didn't want people to cause problems in spreadsheet sync, but like destroyed half the functionality to where like we still have a lot of templates that worked on DataDeer that then we were using in our firm for spreadsheet sync when they re-released it. And they don't work anymore. And we've been like racking our brains, how do we fix this? And then all of a sudden riding in on a white horse is RightTool with a, hey, we've got a fix for you. The only thing I would argue is, the beginner firm, it's a little bit of a price to swallow, a pill to swallow for the price. $50 for the first user and then 15 for every user after that. Where, that's more expensive than quite a few of the other tools and resources a lot of these firms use out here.
Yeah, right. Because I actually haven't tried that. I never was into that other one that you mentioned. I remember the spreadsheet sync, right? Never tried that.
DataDeer, yeah.
Yep, right. And like we use Sasan for some of our big ones, which works pretty well, right? It's a little quirky and you got to know their templates and stuff like that, but it does the trick. And it's way less than that. But I think it's really the people who spend a ton of time in there is when they're going to get the bang for their buck for RightTool, just for all that stuff, like you said. The whole fact that you're in the reconciliation screen and can actually make changes without going back and forth 100 times, that's huge. Like I would love to do this over 7 times. So yeah, I think that's I think they have a pretty good product out there right now. And like you said, they're only getting better.
Yeah. And the one thing I love about them compared to anyone else, and man, we should really look to get referral codes before we do these. We're not very smart. Is I do love that they offer a free version. So of course they're going to leave the coolest features behind a paywall. I mean, you got to get paid for doing your work. I'm not going to judge Mark and Hector for that, but I do like that they have a free version where you can at least poke around and see some of the cool things they're doing for you.
Yeah. No, completely agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to the games. And Jeremy, after a successful performance on Fast Figures, you're up 7-4, assuming there's anything worth winning at the end of this. Jeremy, what's our next segment?
So I like to call our next segment PITA of the Week, right? Because we all
Mediterranean food?
Ooh, with some hummus sprinkled on. Ooh, that sounds delicious. No, I think we all know the acronym PITA, right? I'm not going to put it out there. I told Tyler I would try to be clean mostly for the show. That won't last. But for the first episode,
shower though.
That's true too. That like, what is your pain in the butt for the week, right? And this could be a client thing, or it could be anything that is really just been a thorn in your side, or like I said, a huge pain in your butt. And we would love it that once we get all our social stuff put together, you could hashtag PITA of the Week and nominate things, because we would love to share and connect with everyone and share all your horror stories. And we'll have some of ours in the meantime. And I would like to, this is maybe a softball, and I'm going to apologize for putting it out there right away. However, first, before I do that, like publicly complaining about the IRS, does that put you on some kind of national list or something? Like everyone knows, like we're getting listened to by all the things all the time, right? Should I be concerned? Like we've already had a couple somewhat critical things on IRS. Should I be concerned with this?
I don't think so. I mean, the IRS can't even get their act together enough to respond to notices or not even send notices that aren't applicable. Like they can't even stop their own mail from going out. That's wrong. I don't think they have enough time to listen to a podcast that has 3 subscribers. Again, hi, Mom.
Yeah, right. And wasn't one of the cost things that they just had in the budget was to like modernize the IRS, and then they pulled it out because they didn't want to spend the money. It was part of the debt ceiling conversation, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, crazy. No, my favorite part of that, and this will maybe a two-part story now, is like getting letters from them that says, we have your letter. We haven't had time to look at your letter yet, but keep waiting. That's my favorite. Like, IRS letter, maybe they did something. No, we have your letter. Keep waiting. If you haven't paid something in the meantime, please pay it. But I have a client, like our largest one that we did the ERTC credit for, right? And I like pretty much do like fractional CFO stuff for this client, right? So I need to be able to speak on their behalf to the IRS. And I think I'm getting the form name right, that if you fill out the form 2848, like your 401k, I 2848'd them a form and I sent that to them. I believe it was third quarter of last year. And you can tell we're accountants because I'm talking about quarters, right? So it's probably July or August last year. And then got something back from them in November or something saying that I checked the wrong box because I couldn't be something like their officer, or I was not a member of them. And again, this is a nonprofit. So what I did is I called somebody generally and I said, if I get the CEO or president of this company to write a letter saying that we want Jeremy to be an officer of our company so he can have this role, will that work? Absolutely. So I did that, sent it out like all of 5 days later. So that was in like beginning of December, filled it up, put all the things in there. Just this week, got a response back saying that I asked for the time period that I could be their tax person, and I put 2015 to present, and you can't put present. And I was like, what? Do I have to put a date? So I went with 2024. After 2024, do I just get cut off? Should I have went like the year 3000?
I mean, yeah, you should have done the same thing when you ask for more wishes, right? Like just say, hey, the year 8000, always ask for more.
Yeah, so I don't know what to do, so I just picked a year and sent it back because like I'm more worried about the short term at this point than I know what else to do. However, if any of you smart EAs or tax professionals out there know like, hey, you should do this, I would welcome that feedback. But my PITA of the week is the IRS because I feel pretty confident. I actually had another one teed up, and then I got that letter 2 days ago, and I seriously went on a 5-minute rant with my client with a lot of the cussing that I'm not doing right now, to express my frustration with the process. I know.
Exercising restraint. I'm proud of you. That's some of the most exercise I've seen all week.
If you hold it in, though, it's only going to blow someday, Tyler.
Fair enough. And as Jeremy said, for future reference, folks, we are accepting submissions for PITA of the week. This could be client stories, this could be software, and ultimately our goal is not to be negative, but there are so many times when you wonder, is it me? Do I attract the worst clients ever? And instead, we want you to know that you're not alone. Sometimes it's just good to hear that other people are going through the same crap, because that solidarity really brings us all together. Am I right?
I feel like I should like lean my head on your shoulder and cry a little. That was beautiful.
1 week, we'll be together. 1 week.
Yes.
All right, Jeremy, 4th game coming at you strong. We are playing Spot Defraud. I'm going to explain a scenario that I've either seen personally or I've spoken with people who this has happened to recently. Your goal in this entire scenario is to explain how that person is about to be, who in the story is about to get ripped off and how. Are you ready?
No, I felt like I wasn't ready for the first one though, and I did okay. But I like my master's degree, the second part of it was doing the CPA prep courses. I never took the exam because I sucked so bad at the audit section. It was so bad. So let's do it. It's gonna be fantastic.
All right. So you are a bookkeeping firm. You're getting going. and you get a prospect, a new client that needs a cleanup for the last 2 years. You price it out, you're pretty pumped. You're going to charge them way less than you should because you're a new bookkeeper, and you're going to charge them $5,000 for the cleanup of the last 2 years. First of all, we need to have a conversation with that firm owner because you are way underpricing yourself. But regardless, you create the bill, you send it out to the customer in QuickBooks saying, hey, here's the $5,000 bill to get started. We're going to get going. And to your surprise, they pay it almost instantly, except it says the payment came across for $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shortly after, you get an email from the client saying, oh my goodness, what just happened? Why was I allowed to pay extra? I need that money to cover payroll this Friday. How do we get it back? You call QuickBooks support. They're saying, hey, the funds haven't actually charged. It actually hasn't cleared the account yet. Like, there's nothing we can do. But the client is still just like, I need this money. I can't do it. So you, being the good person you are, you go to your bank account, you issue a wire back to them for $45,000 for the variance, just to make everything happy, and you're still up $5,000. Everything's good, and you move on with your work. Jeremy, spot the fraud.
Is this guy a Nigerian prince?
Always.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. So I don't know the why behind this.
Okay.
Or like the how. So I would love some insight on this. But I heard this before, I think, is that whatever money they originally send over is going to end up failing, right? Like, it's going to get pulled back or the bank's going to do it. So me, as the bookkeeper owner, is going to have to take it where it hurts, unlubed, and lose that $45,000 because you sent it back to somebody that didn't send you a legitimate bank transaction to begin with. And I hope, like, because you were not smart, I was going to be worse, because you were not smart with this, you probably still have to deliver those 2 years of cleanup and lose it all.
Yep.
Close there?
No, I mean, you're probably not going to have to deliver on the work. You just got scammed. Probably don't have books for you to actually manage. Maybe they do. That is a very interesting situation. I can't imagine that. But yes, and it just blows my mind that in QuickBooks right now, people can go in and overpay. I mean, I guess it makes sense because you can send a client like, hey, here's the initial half, and they're just like, I just want to pay it all. I want to get it all out. So I guess it makes sense, but it's one of those scenarios until the money's in your bank, and even still after that, you got to be careful of these things. And I mean, this is an old scam that's gone back. I remember you mentioned in my resume, I was at the Christian Center of Park City. Someone donated $4,000. We get an email the next day. Hey, I wasn't trying to do that. It was supposed to be 400. I need the 3,600 back. Here's the credit card number, refund it there. And it wasn't the same credit card number. And it was someone who stole someone's credit card, paid it on John Smith's card, and then gave us one to refund it back on. So it was real John Smith money, and they're trying to get it back. It's that same thing where people are trying to bait you either with real funds or funds that are going to bounce, and see if you can give your own legitimate money back in that short window.
So as already admitted to, not that smart, but is that typically how it happens? I don't think I understood the front end of that because I'm not a normally deceitful person, but they have somebody's stolen bank account information, send you real money, potentially, right? And then have you try to refund it back to a different account to them.
In the scenario I originally mentioned, no, they're just wiring, they're charging it from an account that's going to bounce, but it's going to look like it's going through at first. And ultimately, if this does ever happen to you, a real client, you can tell them that they can immediately call their bank and say, hey, put a stop payment on it. Like, they need to solve it on their ends, have their bank stop the funds from going out. But otherwise, you need to wait until that thing settles in your account, call your bank, make sure it's settled. And even then, I would wait a day or two to make sure that there's no refund or bounce, or even more importantly, like, segregate those funds so that there's nothing else that could be taken out. Because the worst thing is you have $100,000 sitting in that bank account, and you say, all right, I'm going to authorize the refund. You try to send it, and it also bounces back. Like, you want to limit your exposure. But talking to your bank, I mean, the banks have seen every single scam out there. You call your bank and say, hey, here's what's going on. They're going to be able to walk you through what the issue is. Yeah.
Would you like relay? That what you'd call there? You'd say, hey, Mr. Relay Man, help me out with this?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Relay Man. Hey, Mr. Yusuf, email him directly. Sure would go over well.
Would too. I like it. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Like, and the and again, I've heard that one before too, but they are getting sneaky good now.
Oh
Like
man.
lazy ones now just make you laugh, because I had somebody just the other day like email my marketing manager, and God, I can't remember what he asked for, tips or something, like, oh, I need to buy these tips or something, then from my name, and the email address is, got a backwards Q in it and something else. Like, didn't try very hard to shroud it, but yeah, some of them out there are really hard to pick out.
We got one the other day that was for a QuickBooks invoice that looked like the real thing, except the email address was like wazzer26@gmail. But everything else looked like, it's like they put so much time and effort into designing the perfect looking email and then really cut corners at the final step.
Buy a like a $5 domain, buddy. You'd have a little more success.
Yeah.
Love it.
Jeremy, congratulations, earning extra points on Spot to Fraud.
Yes.
So, at the end of round 4, the end of our game this week, we have a winner. Drum roll, please. For everyone that can't tell, Jeremy's rapidly shaking his hands up and down below the camera. It's disturbing. Our winner this week, Jeremy, I don't know if you heard, but they've announced the speakers for QuickBooks Connect, which includes Ryan Reynolds. So for that reason, I am going to dub our friend Alyssa Lang as this week's winner, because now she has some tangible way to be in the room and try and tackle him in the same venue.
I feel like he would be on my list of like top 5 dudes to go and have a beer with for a night, right? Like I feel like he's just genuinely a good guy and just really funny. That like there are other people here, like, I don't know, I heard somebody else the other day was awful and there's a bad story, but like he would be a good guy just to chill with for an evening out in the town.
Absolutely. No, I would, in a heartbeat, would I have a beer with him. But Alyssa, who has like, I don't know, probably a good 10% of her body real estate tattooed up with Deadpool. I got to imagine she's already bought her ticket and is hunting for VIP passes.
Amen. Yeah. How much you got to pay to beat Ryan? Intuit will give you a price, I'm sure.
There's always a price. And Jeremy, at the same time, I wanted to announce this week's loser. Regardless of what the score said at the end of this game, I'm going to go ahead and say the loser this week is nonprofits. Accounting Today released an article saying that 76% of all nonprofits that responded are down on donation funds in the last year, as well as down on staff being able to retain them. Nonprofits taking a hit. I'm curious, as the nonprofit man, are you seeing the same thing?
First of all, I'm going to be the bigger person and leave the down on staff alone. But after that, I think so. I think like the whole COVID period, right? Like gave everybody, well, first of all, I want to know, because I love KPIs, Tyler, I want to know if that statistic on lower donations includes like government funds, because like for a while there, it was like, oh, you need money and you're hurting. And then even if you're a nonprofit, right? Like, here's all the money you can have, right? And then there's inflation. Weird. How did this happen? I don't know. So I want to know how that's calculated. And I saw you sent me the link here, and I'm going to check that out later. But I feel like that if that's included, it's like for sure, slam dunk. And other ones, it really just depends on the organization and what their messaging is out to their donor base. And if they are continuing to be passionate on what they do, right? Like we have one client that honestly told people to stop donating them money, which is unheard of. Like, why would you do that? But they just were so blessed for like a couple of years. They said, please just pause. And most people didn't, but some people did. But they all, like most of them all came back too, because they do such an amazing job on delivering on their mission. So, and I think like the people side of things, everyone's having trouble trying to get somebody, much less the nonprofit sector, that pays significantly less than like manufacturing and healthcare and all the other things you can get. Like you got to really want to be passionate about the mission if you're going to have a dedicated nonprofit life, unless you're like going to be the CEO of Feeding America or something.
Or, you know, a firm that just does their books too. He's just there for the money.
Take the money and run, man.
Well, Jeremy, that's all we have for today. So for the 3 subscribers, again, thanks, Mom. We'll see you next week, and we'll be back with a few more shenanigans and maybe some sort of structure to this podcast. Until then, have fun.